Meeting called to order. Today is Tuesday, June 20th. It is now 6:03 PM. Town Council meeting in the Town Council Chambers, 1170 Main Street, West Warwick, Rhode Island. Jay, we releasing the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Councilman Licciardi,
Here.
Councilman Messier.
Here.
Councilman Bourget,
You'll be late.
Council Vice President Williamson.
Here.
Council President Goslin.
Here.
Quorum is declared. Consent agenda, approval of the minutes from the May 23rd, 2023 regular town council meeting and the June 6th, 2023 town council meeting.
Move approval of the consent agenda.
Second. Moving second. I'd just like to make one amendment is the road bond money. It looked like I didn't vote on the Cardi. It just showed 3 no's. I voted no also.
Okay.
Any other comments?
I'm not gonna, I wasn't here for the meeting, so I'm not gonna vote.
No, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
All right, ordinances, second reading of ordinance 2023-15, amending Appendix C traffic ordinances, handicap parking on Crossing Street.
Move the ordinance.
Second. Second, Al?
This is the ordinance for handicap parking at on Crossing Street. The 2 families that live there both have handicap privileges. The caretaker appeared before you a couple of meetings ago, and the traffic committee approved it. And I spoke with Council Messer, and he agreed. So asking for second reading.
Any public comment on this ordinance? Any comment from the council? Hearing none, I'll take a roll call vote. Jay?
I wasn't here for the first reading. I did read them. I agree with them, so I don't know if it's proper for me to vote on these or not. So I vote yes.
Jay? Yes. Mary Beth?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
Second reading of ordinance 2023-17, amending Chapter 4 Animals, Section 4-1, 4-29, 4-30, 4-35, 4-50, and 4-145 of the Code of Ordinances as amended.
Move the ordinance.
Second.
This was before you at the last meeting, and the only issue that was raised was David raised about at the school, where it says nothing, no pets at the school, no animals. And if they had a function or something, I discussed this with Superintendent Dara Savage, and the language that I proposed, she is in agreement with. They have a policy up there already in place, and that she is in charge of. And basically, this ordinance now allows the school, through her supervision, to have animals on the property for specific needs. And it does the same, a little less stringent on a town level, that if somebody came in, as David pointed out, a circus or somebody, that they just need the manager's approval. And as I thought about it, that type of thing is probably going to be raised before the council in addition. So with those two, those are the only 2 changes made. And as I said, Superintendent Dara Savage was in favor of that language.
Any questions for Al? Any public comment? Hearing none, I'll take a roll call vote. Jay?
Yes.
Jason? Yes. Mary Beth?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
Thank you.
Business licenses, request from Casa Tia Rosa for renewal of hawker peddler license, laundry license renewals, filling station license renewals, holiday sales license renewals.
Excuse myself.
I'll move the licenses, but have a question actually about a correspondence we received from the tax collector about those.
Get a second first.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Moving seconded.
So we did receive a correspondence from the tax collector regarding a number of entities that are not up to date on their taxes. So I don't know that they should be on the list. I'm asking the question.
So usually in those circumstances, if you guys, sorry,
No, go ahead.
Nancy. If you wanted to approve the licenses subject to payment of taxes, you can, but we won't release them without her signing.
I think there's at least one that wasn't released last July, quite honestly. So,
So they might not have had a license this whole year.
Correct.
Okay. Do you know which one that is?
yeah, as I said, if you go by the list that Rose sent out. So you will just hold those. They are subject to,
Subject to payment of taxes, yeah.
Are you talking about the 4 businesses that
1, 2,
were sent to
3,
us?
4, 5, I think, wasn't it? 5 Rose, yes.
You may want to read those into the record only because unless Rose's letter is going to become part of the record.
We
You might
can
want
make
to
it
read.
part of the record.
Rose's letter, sure. That would be great.
I'm not for stopping people from doing business at all. I mean, if there's an issue with paying their taxes, there's an issue with paying their taxes, but there's a reason behind it. Whether it's a valid reason or not, but it makes no sense to say you can't do business in the town, but you owe us this money. How the hell are they gonna make the money to pay the taxes? So I'm not for that at all.
So do you want to carve out the 5 and vote on the other ones separately?
Well, yeah, but I mean, what happens with the 5?
Well, why don't you, if you want to pass the others besides those 5 that's on Rose's list, do that first and then
I think she wants to pass the 5.
He wants those.
I do.
five.
I want to know more about it. I mean, we have 5 businesses that,
you could ask your tax collector as to what's going on.
yeah, let's talk about it then before we,
Well, I mean, that is the normal course of business and typically all taxes have to be paid or there has to be an agreement in
Right,
place prior to.
so let's find out what's going on. That's all.
Hi, Rose.
Hi. You want me to give you how much they owe and, I mean, is this what you want?
I don't want to drag anybody through the mud. It's
Well,
not
this
what I'm
is-
looking to do, but I mean, you gave us a letter. We
Right,
got, we
and I
got
was
this.
just,
You sent us something else. And now we either have to move all of them forward or we take them out.
well, usually you vote on them
Subject
with the
to.
stipulation of they have to have their taxes paid before they can get their license. And if someone is on a payment agreement, because there is an ordinance, you can be on a payment agreement and still get your license
Right.
as long as you're current with your payment agreement.
What happens when they're not current with their payment agreement? You say they can't do
Then they
business in
have,
town?
sometimes
You
they'll
have-
end up in tax sale.
I'm sorry, you have the power not to approve their application for a license under the ordinance is 2001-2 regarding taxpayers delinquent under licenses and permits. So the town council has the power to not even really do anything, but in the past, it's been, you pay it, as soon as it's paid in full, you get your license. I mean, that's just normal, because you do have the power to revoke their license for not paying it.
Yeah, I don't want to do that. I don't want to. People fall on hard times. I'm not looking to kick somebody when they're down at all. So I'm not for that.
Actually, it's the town's policy. When we approve licenses, every time we've approved them, it always says pending police, fire, tax. So, I mean,
Building and everything.
again,
else,
I
yes.
personally think that we should vote yes for all and let the town hall do its business. And if they come in and pay and so on and so forth, then
And if there's an issue, it should be a letter from, go right up the chain, right to the manager. The
Typically
manager
what we
comes to
do.
the
Yep.
entire council, lets us know what's going on. There's no quorum because we don't have to respond.
any other questions for Rose? Any public comment on these licenses? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Resignations, resignation of Matthew Silva from the West Warwick Public Library Board of Trustees.
So I will vote to approve the resignation of Matt Silver, actually with regret. He does a great job. He's very involved and he's let us know that life's just gotten too busy for him.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Again, I ditto what Mary Beth said. Matt's a great kid, watched him grow up, and I'm glad he was getting involved. So, like you said, life is getting busy now. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
New business, request for amendment to the zoning ordinance for Assessor's Plat 2, Lot 51, from B business to R8 residential, and authorization to send to the planning board for recommendation.
Move approval of the ordinance.
Have a second?
Is this is the Rocks Market?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. We did that already. Yeah, that, this,
All right, I missed.
this one.
I don't know. I'll second it so we can discuss it. We're all set. We're done with businesses.
Mr. President,
Yes.
Thomas Cronin on behalf of the applicant. This is the introduction, the first step in a process that in our request to change the zone on this piece of property in West Warwick. It's a portion of 701 Main Street, which is the former Central Coventry Harris Phoenix Fire Station, known by various names over time. It's on a lot that's 9,108 square feet. 649 of those square feet are in West Warwick, AP2 Lot 51, and the 8,500 remaining are in Coventry, AP 96 Lot 46. The portion of the lot that is in West Warwick is the eastern corner along Main Street. It does clip a bit of the building as well. It's just north of the sign for Bill's Pizza, if you were looking at
Bell
it from,
Tower.
right.
Bell Tower hits West. Warwick.
Yeah, so the Bill's is immediately adjacent to the south and Main Street to the north. There's a strip of land owned by the state of Rhode Island, which continues on to the bridge. It gets narrower and narrower along the river as it goes along. So the proposal that they would like to bring forward is to turn the fire station into 3 two-bedroom apartments and maintain the rear for owners' storage. The same folks who own the building own Bill's Pizza next door. They use the rear addition to the fire station to store things. So the apartments would be in the old fire station, and the parking would be on the north side of the building. The parking lot is already there. This is, like I said, I'm looking for the referral of this matter to the West Warwick Planning Board for their review and recommendation to the town council. Because of the split nature of the lot, with about 2/3 in Coventry, maybe 3/4, in addition to review by this board and the West Warwick Planning Board, it'll go before the West Warwick Zoning Board for a special use permit if I'm able to get the zone changed to R8, because it's a multifamily use, which requires a special use permit. And in addition, it'll be also vetted by Coventry Planning and Coventry Zoning, because it's also the same multifamily special use permit would be required in the town of Coventry. So this is just the first step in many, and they're all contingent upon the other. So I'd ask that the council refer this to the West Warwick Planning Board for their review and recommendation, and hopefully I'll appear back before you in July.
For the record, Council Messi recused himself. This, and again, forgive me, did this go through Coventry yet?
It has not. This is actually the
For the first step.
first step. It's zoned R, the rest of the lot is zoned R20 in Coventry, so I don't need to change the zone in Coventry. So I'm starting by changing the zone here from B to R8, because if I am not successful in that, then we're not going to be able to go forward with the proposal.
So the piece that's in West Warwick is basically the parking lot in between the building, the pizza place now, or the Bill's place now, and the fire station.
That's right, on an angle.
So on a Friday night, it'll get worse than it is now. I mean,
Mhm.
which is crazy down there, so,
It is.
yes,
Certainly, I anticipate that traffic will be a topic at every stop.
I'm sure you're right.
Yeah.
But there is, the garage is also supposedly leaving at the end of this month across the street, so that will free up Main Street 3/4 of the way down after the fire station.
Across the
They're
street,
moving
yeah.
to Providence Street somewhere last night,
So that's Coventry, that's not our concern.
Yeah. but
Yeah.
that parking over there will free up, I think.
Okay. So it's just, this is just a referral to the planning. It's nothing
That's right.
other than that. Right.
That's my request, yes.
Any other comments, questions? Hearing none. All in favor?
I,
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank you.
So you're coming back before us, correct?
Yeah, so.
My only concern with this, to be honest with you, is you're asking us for something, which is fine. And it goes to planning. Planning can do whatever they want. We could disagree with them and we have no say in it. Correct?
It does make it out of planning, it's not gonna come back to the town council. Unless
but
you-
if it
let's-
does
let's-
make it out of
if-
planning, it
if
comes back.
If it does not make it out, they have a right to appeal it, obviously, but if it does make it out of planning, it'll come back and Al can address that. Okay.
No, but this is good. Plan only will make recommendation as to whether or not they agree with change the zone to a residential zone.
Okay.
They come back and they say, we think it should be a residential. You don't like it? You say no. Decision to change the zone is yours.
Thank you, Al.
All set, thank you.
Request from 60E Main Street LLC for tax incentive agreement.
The request for discussion purposes.
Second.
Moving second. How you doing? Just state your name and address for the record. Brandon.
He can
Yeah,
tell.
speak.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Brandon
Might want to
Havener,
raise
adjust it too.
Yeah.
Brandon Havener, 29 Water Valley Road, Hope, Rhode Island.
Yeah.
Michael Oshinsky, and I'm here to support Brandon. about the Performa and whatnot.
So Brandon, I know we brought this up at one of our last meetings, 2 meetings ago, to discuss this, and I know personally via email, I was going back and forth with your representation, talking about a 5-year plan instead of a 10-year plan. Those recommendations, obviously, that was a recommendation. You guys came back and you still would like to see a 10-year plan. You know, during that council meeting, I know we discussed, you know, having different size projects, different projects throughout the town, and we understand that when we give a tax incentive agreement, that, you know, we base it off the size and the cost and the expense. And, you know, we keep going back and forth with 5-year and 10-year, but I know this proposal shows a 10-year again. I'll let the rest of the council speak, but I know during our budget time, we've had people come up to us, talk to us about tax incentive agreements and, you know, that we've been giving out a lot, you know, we should be reducing or give none. I don't agree with none, but, you know, I definitely agree with a 5-year with the size of the project, but
Yeah, I think what we're up against is the overall financing of the project with the increase in cost to construct and kind of how much was spent to remediate the buildings, even to get a safe status from the town. So we were really trying to push for that 10-year as it kind of makes all the numbers work for the bank. But I mean, we're at your mercy and whatever you think is fair, and we'll try to make it work from the financing side.
Sal, for the record, Councilman Bourget, is there Sal? Want to just give us?
Sal Sakosha, tax assessor for the town.
I know you were going back and forth with 5 and 10 also, so.
And it's up to the council to make that decision, but I think anything planned that goes through is a benefit to the town. Either way, I mean, we all know what a bad condition those buildings were in over there.
No, I did tour the buildings.
Right,
about
Right,
2
and
years
they,
ago.
yeah, and they have come a long way, and with new apartments and stuff down there, that's like another start for that area to bring itself back up and make some of the other landlords say, oh, look at that, you know, I want to fit in, because now you're doing something nice, you're able to get in. get better rent, or things like that.
I mean, and the point of these stabilizations, I mean, sometimes they get a negative connotation, but they all benefit, they all are aimed to benefit the town. And the ones we've done recently have benefited the town and cleaning up, I mean, this is a different project, but in Arctic, many of those projects have definitely cleaned up that area and they've spurred other developments. I can't speak specifically on this project, but in general, the stabilization plans have been good for the town of West Warwick.
There was a lot of, I didn't know they had to spend a lot of money cleaning up the place, and there were a lot of environmental issues that have been cleaned up. Otherwise, you wouldn't even been able to think about having apartments moved in, right? How many apartments
It's 10 apartments.
total?
Yes.
Like 6 and 4 or 5 and 5?
6 and 4, yeah.
What are we looking at? What is the,
Oh.
I don't have it in front of me. What's the property right now? What do we, per year, what do we get in taxes? And what will be the difference if we were to add the 5 or the 10-year stabilization?
We got, it's like around $300,000 value right now between the two buildings.
Yep.
And 3 times 3, what's that, like $10,000 total that we're getting. So we're going to be, well, I mean, $800,000 project would be 24,000. So it'd be at least an additional 14 at the end of the project. So we'd have a total of 24. You round that off, 14 divided by 10, that's what, extra $1,400 a year more than we're getting now.
Even with the stabilization
Once the stabilization comes in, we'd get $1,400 on top of
at the end?
whatever we're getting now.
And we will have cleaned up a property, make the area look a little nicer. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what these stabilization plans are for. It's not giving handouts. It's supposed to spur development in the area. And I think it's worked so far. And then the ones we've given out here recently, I think it's worked. It's definitely worked in Arctic. We can't speak to any projects that may come in the future, but
Was anything moderate or low income schedule?
Yeah, there's half the project would be part of the workforce. 8%. Yeah.
Is it anything with Rhode Island housing? Any type of
That's-
covenant? with them? Right, so if one of the buildings was that would save you money, because once the project's done, then you'd have 8% of the gross income, which might be a even better deal, I think, than the tax incentive. If the whole project went that way, but
Yeah.
the financing makes it tough, so,
Right.
if one of them is and one of them's not, then
So just saying, working, I don't like to use the term low income housing because
Affordable.
affordable.
Yeah.
Right.
When we say affordable, what are we talking per unit?
I think it's 1,400 for one bed and then 1,550 for two bed.
which I think is what Tanglewood is now 80%.
That's this year. I mean, it'll come, as AMI goes up, so.
It increases.
that's why low income is not really a proper term when you're talking about $1,400 for an
No,
apartment.
that's why I'm trying to make that clear.
I know I missed the first few minutes of this. It sounded to me like Dave was saying that maybe not a 10-year, but a 5-year. I've never been in favor, I've said it numerous times, everything that's come up here, of giving residential developments a tax break. Businesses, yes, residential, no. The reason is because you're gonna make money off of it, because you're gonna rent it out. So that's the main reason why I'm against it. I see the positive side everybody's talking about. You go in, make it look better than it does, and, so I've gone with it on some of the other ones on the lesser times. Mine for this one, for a 10-year, I can't, especially with one of your reasons is you want to go solar. There's already tax incentives all over the place for solar that the taxpayers are already putting the bill for. So there's be another thing the taxpayers are putting the bill for solar on, and
There's solar there already.
Yeah.
And they'll be paying. There's one that goes right to the grid, and they have to pay a
but in
tangible
his
tax. on it.
letter, he put that as one of his reasons why he wants a tax break, is the
Well,
solar.
I think it was the costs associated with it that we've already footage for that project. And it is mixed use actually, so it's 10 residential.
And I get that, but either way, it's gonna be taxpayers once again paying for solar that you might have already gotten a tax break on from the taxpayers. And I just, you know, I have solar on my house. I'm not anti-solar. I'm not anti this green movement, you know, but there's an extreme to it.
Right.
And where our society is moving to that extreme, and I'm just not gonna be part of giving a tax break for an extreme movement like that.
The tax base that is, they will be frozen and just go up. What is that? There's no reduction.
And I understand that completely, but 5 years, I could probably go with that. For 10 years, I definitely will not go with.
Yeah, I would tend to agree that 10 years is too long. I think the project's a great project. The renditions that you've provided are terrific. And it is definitely cleaning up the area, but we also have to be considering what else might come before us in the future. And I wouldn't want this to be a benchmark for that, to be honest with you. So I don't disagree with a tax incentive, but I would prefer to see it a shorter term.
And when you say not jump, you know, I see how it goes up 10% every year here for over 10 years. I mean, I'm willing to agree 20, 40, 60, 80, 100 by the fifth year. But
I would agree.
20, 40, 60, 80, 100, yeah, over 5
Exactly.
years. You know, so, you know, again, I met with Brandon, I toured the building. I think it's a great idea. I think it's a great aspect for the neighborhood. I think it's, you know, it's just, we have given a lot of these and you're waiting for 10 years, 15, 20 years for it to finally go through fruition. And that council who may be here 10 years from now says, oh, wow, we just got a full 100% tax from a building. What happened? You know, I know I had that happen with Royal Mills, you know. I came in right after Royal Mills, and then on the 10th year, everybody was all excited that it was at 100%. So, you know, I know we do need it for development, but, you know, I'm not going, I don't like to go with 0 on this. I'd like to go 5, but it's up to you guys at this point if you want to
I
accept
think
that. also.
what we're hearing from the bank is that those first 2 years, even the third year, we're kind of up against the numbers and where those tax dollars are pushing us just below the threshold of what they're
I
willing.
don't think it has to, I speak for myself. I don't think it has to be 20, 40, 60, 80, 100. It could be whatever gets you there. Certainly nothing less than you're paying now. And in the 5th year, it should be 100%. That's, so I don't care if it's equal. It doesn't matter to me.
I can agree also.
Because
It
it's
could
all,
be,
I
it could
mean,
be 0 and
it all
0 in
adds
the
up
first 2 years. It'd be fine with me as long as we get to in the 5th year at 100%.
to 0, 0,
Whatever. Yes. Yeah.
60, 80,
They
100.
have to work with their bank.
something, However, yeah.
Could we do 0, 0, 30, 60, 100 as the schedule?
I think it needs to be written down and
Yeah.
reviewed again.
If you come back and
Resubmitted?
And just,
if
please
you-
just understand too, you know, we're sitting here and I've been in favor of tax stabilization before to get new businesses in, and that's great.
Mhm.
But we're just sitting here about 15 minutes ago, looking at 5 businesses that are struggling, who have, a few of them have been around quite a bit, quite a while. So they're struggling. We're looking to say we're not going to approve a license for them, who's kind of been a focal point to the core of the town. And then we're looking to help out new businesses coming in. You know, it's kind of hypocritical. You know, and I'm not against it at all, you know, but I think we need to keep that in mind when we're doing this end for these people. Then all of a sudden we have other people coming before the tax collector saying, I can't pay this. What are you going to do? How can you help me? You know, so instead of giving them a big FU, we just say, you know what, well, it is. It's, you know, well, you got to pay this, you got to pay this, you got to pay this. You know, let's try and work with them too.
Mhm.
You know, because that's quite a bit of money that you're getting off.
So I would suggest you work with your bankers, come back to us. And again, I would, my vote would be, as long as you're paying 100% in that 5th year, I'd be much more comfortable with that presentation. I mean, I think you need to
We're
work with
meeting-
your bank.
We're only
and-
meeting once in July,
July 11th, I believe.
July 11th, so if you can get it in before then, the week before then, we can look at it at that point.
Yes, Tuesday, July 11th.
I know
is the
you're
next
getting
meeting.
anxious to start moving too. I know.
Well, yeah, it's a slow process, but. So yeah, we can
All right, so we won't take any action tonight. We'll wait for your resubmission.
Sounds good.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Discussion action, town financial assistance for the West Warwick Steelers.
Move the discussion.
Second,
Jay,
So
know you
I
were-
put this on the agenda item, an agenda item for the last council meeting. Fortunately, I couldn't be here and I apologize. But I had talks with the vice president of the West Warwick Steelers regarding help that they could use. And we've done this in the past. We've done it in a few years. Where we actually paid their electric for 3 months of the year. 3 months they used the lighting at the vets. I want to say August, September, October, or September, October, November. It was 3 months. And I'm comparing it to the same, we pay the lighting at River Point and all the other town fields. And unfortunately, because we can't provide a field for them, which they're fully understandable right now, we should do something to help them out. We cut everybody's grass. And I think we pay the electric for everybody else. I think it's a pittance of what we could do to help this organization. And if they want to,
Do we know what that would total?
I don't, I mean, that would be something more of, I think the last time, Kristen, if you recall, is it like $1,000, like 300 a month or something? I believe.
And Jay, just for the record, I know you and I, when we were talking about the new lights and all the new lights going around, that we asked if we can get new lights down there, the LED lighting, and we were told because it's private property,
Right.
we cannot spend the town, the wind turbine energy fund towards that. So,
Correct.
you know, that's why we couldn't get the new lights down there.
So so I don't know if you want to allow them to come up.
Yeah, they're here for that reason.
Hi, Mike Govern, President of the West Warwick Steelers. So down there right now, we have 18 lights, 14 of them are out. So we don't know if it's the fixture, if it's the bulb. But to get a 6-pack of bulbs online, it's $450. We would need 3 of those just to see if it's the bulb or the fixture. So like the electricity is good, but there's like a lot of other things that I think we would need help on. Since I can remember, I've been with the organization coaching for 19 years. We had our electric bill paid a portion, maybe 3 years. The grass gets cut, we get a dumpster. I think the grass got cut before it ever got brought to the town. That was like an agreement between people's kids who played there that worked for the town. However, it worked out. But since I've taken over, like we've made progress, we move forward, we're doing a lot of things progressively. We have more kids coming down. Our numbers are around 78% West Warwick residents that play. This year could be more. That was last year's numbers, but we're always above 70. So the grass is awesome. The dumpster is good, but like, other than that, we have no support whatsoever. Like I get the lights are private, that's fine. So is there another way to word it? Can we get,
So what are you looking for, though? That's.
I'd like to get our light.
We've talked.
So I'd like to
quite
get
a
our
bit.
lights fixed. Last time we talked 2 weeks ago, the town was supposed to figure out what part of the field the town owns to get us either a Connex or a building built, how that would work, because I know they own a portion. I just don't know if it's what weird angle it's at. I know it's more towards the Maisie Quinn area. That's why the trees are cleared for evacuation plan or school, whatever. They cleared the trees for the hill. So, but after this season, we lose the entire basement of the Crompton Vets. That's, 150 helmets, 150 shoulder pads, practice gear, cheerleading gear,
So that's-
equipment,
It's storage.
storage. The green building's still there. It's supposed to get knocked down.
What-
That's like our tackle sleds.
Alright, hang on. What, just to back up a little bit. All right, so I know we talked about talked about a lot of things.
Yes,
So you're looking for storage.
Yep.
Storage unit.
yes.
And the green building is the concession stand?
No, the concession is the black building near the parking lot.
Okay.
The green building is probably like the old baseball like score where they keep score, maybe a long time ago when like the famous Pizza had baseball down there, like way back in the day.
So not, all right, just.
That
to be-
building's getting
just to
knocked
be
down.
Clear. All right, if I'm going into the parking lot.
Yep,
of
the green
vets,
building at the corner of the
right,
fence.
so I'm going in.
Yeah.
I have the concession stand,
First building you see.
right?
Yeah.
And then the Crompton Vets.
Yep, and then the
Okay,
green,
I have
the
to talk with
green,
my hands like this.
yeah, so the green
Building here.
buildings, like, if you're pulling the parking lot, the green building's here, the vets is here,
Okay.
The green building is in front of the concession stand. It's the taller building, it's a two-story.
Okay, all right,
Yeah,
All
it's
right,
like
yeah.
shed. But that got rotted out. Yeah,
thank you. All right,
there's like a piece of the brim that the water's supposed to go into the sewer that's gone. So you can see where it's going, where the water washes the rocks out. It just goes down there and floods the area.
so that will be torn down, you
That's
said,
supposed to be torn down,
by the vets?
no, by, I guess by the town. That we were told to unlock it and take our stuff out of there. We did that a month and a half ago. It's, the building's still there.
All right, so is that on town? Can you clarify some of this?
I have not heard that the town was participating in the removal of private property.
Because that is still, that's on the Crompton Vets owns
Yeah.
that.
So I can't
So
imagine.
why, we couldn't do that.
Right.
Well, that's what we were told.
This is an order out of the building officials department, and it's going through the normal channels because it's, needs to be demolished, but if that has not occurred, it's on private property and
Okay,
can't really confirm or deny what
Well,
Mr. Gorman's saying.
so
even
you're
if-
losing your storage is what you're saying?
Yeah. I mean, I have text messages from the president of the vet saying the town's gonna come take it down. They need a key and I need to take my stuff out of there. So I don't know what you want to confirm or deny, but I have text message
All right.
proof that it's getting taken down by the town.
Okay.
However, it's getting worded.
I'm just saying that there's nothing from the town to the Steelers.
No, not to us. We don't own the field, so it's not.
Unless somebody confirmed that the town has actually contacted the Crompton Vets to notify you as a tenant. We don't have any knowledge of that. That's what they're saying.
Yeah, okay. So I don't,
The way you can't use it is what you're saying.
dude, that building's, it's been open for a month and a half. All our tackle wheels, everything's out of that building.
So
And then
what are you doing with everything?
right now it's shoved in our concession stand. We have nowhere to put it. And then after this fall, we have nowhere to put nothing. It's all gone. We have just the field, if we're
Okay.
still allowed to use it.
Where do we stand? I know we received an email on the land. Did we look at Connex prices or anything like that? Jeff?
A Connex box is anywhere between $2,500 to $5,000, depending on the size that you're looking for
To buy?
to buy. Soccer has their own. We didn't buy that. Everybody has a concession stand and that's it. To store their equipment. Soccer went upon themselves to buy themselves 2 Connex boxes. We did not pay for those. They
If,
paid for them on their own.
if we were to buy one and put it down, obviously we'd have to get permission from the vets to put on the property, but that we would own that. So if something were to happen, it's ours. We can take that and move that to another location if we need to. It would just be an investment that we make, correct?
Because unless you have permission from the owners of the property, you can't put anything.
Right, no, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying, if, and that would be between,
Well, that's why I was asking about the
Us.
strip of land that the town owns.
Right.
Which is a pretty good size.
That's out in right center field.
right, yeah, I know we talked about that.
Yeah, it can go on the town's property. It's just a matter of where, and do we have to do any clearing or anything?
Are you gonna be hard pressed to get it down there without going across Crompton's property itself?
That, I think they'll work out with us.
So I guess maybe we need to have what your wish list is. Because I've heard pay for electricity, I've heard put lights up, and again, going on private property to put lights up, would be an issue. And now I've heard Connex boxes, so if we could have something in writing as to what your wish list is, not saying that you'll get everything on your wish list, but it would give us an
Yeah, so
idea of how
like,
to.
so we have a meeting with the vets tomorrow. So I'll get everything, I'll give whatever I need in writing from them, the civil board and veterans board. They have 2 boards there. We have a meeting with them tomorrow to go over everything that's gonna happen, how much field usage we get, everything like that. And I understand the whole light thing, I do. So at the end of the day, I still have 300 kids that have no lights down there. We're a nonprofit organization, just like soccer, baseball, everyone else in the town.
Just to make it clear, soccer doesn't have lights either.
That's, yeah, all right.
I don't-
So, but baseball does, they have plenty of lighting down there. So whether you can give me lights or not, is there another way to word it where the town would give a donation or,
We had, and was it, I was sitting over there, so it had to be a while ago, 2017, maybe, we approved, I don't know what the amount was, but we definitely didn't we make the town did help fund the electricity at least one year, right? It was before Mary Beth was here, I think.
We we agreed to pay the bills for 3 months because we were absorbing the bills at other locations. For
Yeah, no,
for
so
other-
I'm just saying, we have done.
Right,
we
so
have
we've done in the past,
Yeah,
yeah.
we've done in the past.
Yeah, so like, I know this, it's tricky because it's a private field. I understand that. So if I have to get something in writing from them, I know that the town wouldn't want to put things in there and they can just sell the field tomorrow and it's a loss for the town. I totally understand that. I'm just saying, since I've been here, and I believe it's since 1945, the Steelers have been in the town of West Warwick. Great, we have a private field from the vets. I understand that. You know, there's a lot of things way in the back that there was an agreement that they have to let town play there, and there's a lot of things that no one knows about. I'm saying for the 19 years I've been there, I'm just looking for the same support that every program gets in this town. Whether it's a private field or not, I don't know how you reword it, the legal terms of it, but if every sport in the town, or all of them besides soccer, is getting lights paid for, and the concession stands built and painted and roofed, and we're paying for that by ourselves, I just don't think that's fair to our players. So, you know, football has to pay for helmets, shoulder pads, equipment. It's not, give me $150, I'm gonna give you a t-shirt and you go play sports. I have to make sure these kids are safe, concussion protocols. There's a lot of things that we do down there, and it's just been happening because we handle it. I would just like the same support that every sport gets in this town. However, it has to be figured out.
But there is a difference though with private property and public property. I mean, it's like saying, well, you guys pay to fix the school, so you should pay to fix my house too, because it's not fair, you know?
No, I'm not saying that, but so if there's a grant or a donation or however you word it to help us figure out the lights, if not, that's fine. Then we'll fundraise like we do every year and we'll fix it ourselves.
How did we word when we made the donation for the light before? Did we just make a donation to them?
It was towards the electric bill.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
we
we
just-
actually
we
asked
just-
for the
we-
bills. We asked for the bills.
As a nonprofit, you know,
Yes.
you worked around it, and the bills were submitted and the bill was paid.
Okay, I just wasn't sure if we made a donation and then they
did
paid
that.
it. We paid it
No,
directly.
I think so.
I mean,
And again, so, but the Compton Vets has to be involved in this discussion because they're their lights. They're not your lights. They're their
Yeah, the
lights.
Army
So,
Corps of Engineers put it in. We even reached out to them to see if they could help us. They said there's nothing they can do.
again,
So they've been-
but
so they-
without, if it's on Compton Vets property, they need to be at the
So the-
table and have that. We need to hear
Are they
from
billing
them.
you? Are they billing you? Sorry.
Well,
Okay.
let me just try to put this to rest pretty quick. We can ask the Crompton vets if
Right.
they'd like to sell the land.
Hmm,
So basically,
Maintain it, but we do everything
basically,
now.
if we would have said, all right, we're gonna give you $1 million towards the lights. at
Wait a
the
minute,
vet.
we're not gonna
And-
say
and-
that. I'm just,
well, hang on,
I'm pretty
and the
sure
vet-
we're not
I'm
gonna
just
say
throwing a
that.
number- I'm throwing a number out.
All right.
And the vet,
Hypothetical in front of that.
and the vets, hang on, Jim, all right, enough.
All right.
I get some nice lights.
So if the vets say, no, we don't want to do it, it doesn't really matter. So that's the first step.
Yeah.
So tomorrow at your meeting, what you need to ask is,
What you need to ask
That
is,
meeting at
are they
7?
gonna allow you? to
7:30. We have a meeting with their board.
Participate with a lease on the field for the next 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, so you have access to the field. That's number one. If they're gonna say no, we might be selling it. Now you're in a little bit of a problem.
Okay.
If they say yes, we'll sign a lease with the West Warwick Steelers, which they've had in the past, which usually was $1 a year and
Yeah, we're all my whole board's members there.
1966, not 1944.
Well, I think it was 41 it was called the Crompton Vets Football Association.
Compton Vets, not the Steelers. Steelers
Yeah,
came
they
along
came
in
after,
60,
but
right.
football's been there.
But the point I'm getting at is if the Crompton Vets agrees to allow them to be their tenant for a long period of time, then the next step would be, okay, whatever improvements are going to be made by the tenant ultimately are going to be owned by the vets on their side of that line that goes into the right side of the field. Now, if you're going to build a storage facility in right center field, that's the town's property. Think about it. You're not going to be able to practice there because you can't have the storage facility right in the middle of your practice field. You
Yeah, I don't know
what
where the line is. I don't know if you guys are up on the hillside. I don't.
It runs, I think it runs from the old right field line into center field to the river, so there's almost like a rectangle going up the Andy Smith field.
Yeah.
So the Crompton Vets is gonna have to approve that they're going to allow them to remain there.
okay.
And then that would be the first
Yeah,
step.
sure you can.
Pretty big area.
Yeah, so that's the parking lot. Yeah, so it's the backside. Actually, the backside towards the river, right?
Right.
That's the vets. Okay.
Right center field.
Yeah, so basically where Judy
You'll-
Boston and Boston practice and then the hill area.
But as far as the total amount of property the Crompton Vets owns, as long as they're gonna allow them to keep that for the next few years, now you can start negotiating with them to determine whether or not you want to buy that for the town, which has to go to the financial town meeting, or sell the town's property to them to make it all one continuous lot, but they're still just a tenant of the
Right.
property owner. If you're gonna get it into the hands of the town, so you treat everybody equally, then it has to become town property, and you're gonna have to buy it, and you're gonna have to get permission and authority at the financial town meeting.
So if the vets had agreed, if it was proposed to them to put a pod there that can be easily removed on their property, if they said yes to do it, then they can come back to us to see if we would purchase the pod and put it there for them to use.
Right, but on an ongoing basis, I think the only thing the town would be responsible for as ownership would be ensuring whatever properties around it, whatever rider that their property insurance would request of the town to
Right.
put that there, because in case of injury or something.
And that would be an easy thing. And then
I would
if there was
assume so,
any
sure.
issues,
Be
then
a
we
named
just remove the
insured.
pod.
He'd be named insured.
Right.
Right.
but
Correct.
The point is, without the Crompton vets here, it's really difficult to talk about land. That's
Maybe,
private
and maybe,
property.
and maybe you could, if possible, even if you have the meeting tomorrow, if somebody from them could maybe be at the next meeting, might be helpful.
Yeah, I think we've heard a lot of different things. If we can get something in writing that we understand that you and Crompton Vets, the Steelers and the Crompton Vets have an agreement.
Sure.
And then we can go from there to decide how we take care of some of this.
And we,
And
and we,
and it won't be $1 million. Just
no.
letting you know.
It was just a
Right,
number to
yeah,
throw out to
yeah.
get everybody's attention, and it did. So
we-
so
and we have
anybody that
one-
was sleeping in the audience, spoke.
and we have one,
Woke
we
up.
only have one more meeting before. I know you guys start at the very beginning of August, so I think it would be,
But it can
you
be
meeting
worked
tomorrow.
on. It can be worked on.
Of course.
Yeah, so like the storage, we don't, I mean, besides the tackling wheels and stuff we use for the kids to use the sleds and teach them safe tackling, our equipment's still good this whole season. It's next season. They gave us one,
Okay.
I don't know, I think, I heard rumors they might build a kitchen down there. I don't know what they're doing down there until we meet with them tomorrow.
Okay,
So we still have that storage room now.
Okay.
It's just,
so you don't need it this year.
so I'm just preparing you
Yep.
for what,
So if we can have a timeline of what things are happening, what they're doing, what
Yeah.
they're agreeing to or not agreeing to, that
Yep.
helps us a lot to,
yeah, and I'll ask
pinpoint
one
how
of them
we
if they
can-
could come, whether both sides of their board or, because they have two boards, they have civil and
Yep.
military. So if they want to both come or however they're gonna, well, I'll figure all that out tomorrow with them.
Okay.
I just wanted to, again, bring it up and see what
Yeah.
happens. I'll let you, Jay, I'll let you know when I talk to them tomorrow.
All right.
And then we'll go from there.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Mike.
thank you.
Alan Plaza, 5 Robin Lane, and I believe in the KISS principle. Perhaps one member of the council could attend the meeting between the vets and the Steelers tomorrow.
We-
It'd make it a lot easier. There won't be any middleman. That's all I had to say.
Abatement of taxes in the amount of $3,367.45 as requested by the tax collector.
Move approval.
I need to
Second.
recuse myself from this matter.
Move a second. Any discussion? None. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Authorizing the file of application to the Rhode Island Small Cities Community Development Block Grant Program.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Elaine?
So this year, we're asking for just over $1.6 million to fund some projects, infrastructure projects in town. We're also looking to renovate the current entryway into the town hall to make it ADA accessible. With some infrastructure projects in Phoenix and the infamous Brayton Street drainage project as well.
I think that's been on there every year. I've been on the council. right?
Pretty much,
Yeah.
yep. Yep, we had significant delays with furloughs with the engineering company through COVID. And we had a very long delay obtaining one of the easements that was necessary. So now that that's all in place, we are moving forward.
Any questions for Elaine?
Do we have a lot of money left in the current block grants that we've gotten?
You know, with the money that we have is allocated.
Okay. So if it wasn't used yet, is that going to, are they gonna look at that as we still have money left for these other projects? We're not gonna give you,
For which project?
I don't know,
No.
Is it-
because
as a whole.
We have met the threshold for each grant year, so it will not affect us going forward that we have money on hand for current projects that we're working through.
Okay.
And it's a big ask. We're asking 1.6.
Yeah.
There's 5 million available statewide. So keep your fingers crossed.
Can't hurt to ask, right?
Try it.
You don't ask, you don't get it.
That's right.
Any other questions for Elaine?
So a little off topic, but not real. Potter Street, Potter Ave, how we doing?
Moving right along, it'll be done by the deadline, well before the deadline,
Perfect.
actually.
Perfect. Thank you.
Any other comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Elaine.
Amendment of Resolution 2013-180, Appendix B, fees and charges, adding fence variance application in the amount of $25.
Move the amendment to the resolution.
Second.
This
Second
is
out.
just adding a fee of $25 filing fee for the fence variation application.
Any questions for Al? Hearing none, all in favor?
Off topic, but it's on topic. So. About fences. We passed an ordinance about the fences, right? And it came to our attention after the ordinance was passed that there was an issue with a fence. And it went before the zoning board. And that's my issue, is it went before the zoning board. The zoning board made a decision, but the decision wasn't carried out.
If I may, that matter is not properly before you. It's not on the agenda, and there's no one seeking any informational issue as it pertains to this agenda item regarding the fee.
Mr. Wyler, we could save it for public comment, because I know it's about your fence. Are you, so we'll talk about it at public comment. This is strictly about the fee itself, $25. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Resolution authorizing annual stipends for the Board of Canvassers.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Moving second. Who put this on?
Sarah? Sarah?
I know I brought it up during budget season. This is just moving our Board of Canvassers to a stipend base like yourselves, rather than a per meeting payment. This allows us to stabilize that budget and make sure that. we're not going over.
The only question I have with that is we have election years and non-election years. So obviously the board meets quite a bit during an election year and they don't meet as much during a non-election year. So if you took, just say 1050 for the chair, that works out to whatever per meeting in year one, election year one. And that you're not meeting that many times, that comes out to a lot more money. Correct?
So what, no, actually what I did was I went a 5-year look back of what we've spent annually on their stipends, and I divided that accordingly. The chair is obviously here more often because they have to stop in to sign things. They have responsibilities that the rest. So basically, that's why they get a little bit more, just like I think the council president also gets a little bit more. So I took the amount that they've been making for the last 5 years and divided it. And that's how we came out. So it really is an average of what they're making. Off election years, yes, they're gonna get paid the same, even though they're gonna be here less. But it still is an average of what they've been making for the last 5 years. And then they additionally would get paid for the day on election day. So they get an additional $250 per election day.
I assume you've had this conversation with either
Yeah.
the chair and or the rest of the Board of Canvassers, and how was it looked upon?
They've received it fine. I think that they're, looking forward to having a more steady, they'd get paid monthly just like you guys. So they can
And-
count on that.
Your budget line doesn't change.
My budget line does not change. This would prevent us from going over budget.
Any other questions for Sarah? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
I do. Just to make it equitable. Well, how many meetings do they have on a non-election year? Roughly.
It varies. I mean, I can look at the numbers for you, but
2,
they
5,
might
10?
not. Like that.
For about an hour?
So on an off election year where we just have our financial town meeting, this year we'll have the budget cycle, they really won't meet. There's no redistricting going. So they don't meet as much, but they,
So if you met 3 times, I'm just gonna use an example, you met 3 times for a total of, say, 3 hours. And you're getting,
sorry, let me back that up. That's
Okay.
just since January. We've met
Okay.
that many times. So in the fall, obviously, we had the general election, we had the primary election. So they met a lot more times in the fall. In this fiscal year, I don't know, we've probably met a dozen times. And then if you have a special election. Like I said, this amount of money, the money that I budgeted for this year is an average of what they've been paid the last 5 years. So basically what I'm doing is I'm just taking that, dividing it appropriately.
well,
depending-
I'm not questioning your math
No,
at
no,
all.
no,
and I'm
right.
not questioning, it'd be easier for the budget, I get that. But in an off election year, if you're meeting for total of like, say it's 9 times.
Yeah.
And you're getting $900 and you meet for an hour.
But on an election year, they might be meeting 30 times. And so it kind of stabilizes, you know what I mean? Like they might make out better one year, but the next year they might make out worse. You know, they based off the $50 per meeting.
That's
This
assuming
is
it's the same.
also just, I mean, this is also the way it's done in most communities. It's a stipend base, not a per meeting. Outlook, you want to make sure that you're. hard to predict
I
how many
know.
times.
So this gives you some certainty in your budget for the, yes.
In the budget,
yes,
yeah, but
Yes, and, I mean, if you've gone back and you're comfortable and they're comfortable with the numbers, I trust your judgment as far as that goes, yes.
Again,
I'm not
it's not
saying
ju-
I don't trust your judgment.
No,
I'm just
No,
saying.
I'm just, I
You
didn't say
meet
you
9
did.
times for 9 hours, it's $100 an hour. You know, I mean, that's,
$99 more than we're getting a meeting.
Well, I mean.
Seems that way.
In other boards too, I mean, that have to make crucial decisions. I mean, I'm just trying to be fair across the board, that's all.
I think it balances each other out. Year versus an off election year, they might make out better. Year, but then on a year, they might make out a little worse, but it's, you know.
That's why I asked, if it's not changing your budget line,
No,
No, it's basically what I'm taking is exactly what my budget line would be and just dividing it, you know, based on.
your call.
Like I said, this is common practice.
Any other questions for Sarah? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I can't do it. Sorry, I don't question your math at all, but I just.
Quarter review, appointment to fill a vacancy as an alternate member for a 3-year term. Sewer use board of review, appointment to fill a vacancy as a regular member for a 3-year term. West Warwick Housing Authority, appointment to reappointment for a 5-year term expiring. 2027. West River Authority, appointment on Planning Board, appointment for reappointment term expiring July 2020.
Public comment.
Good evening, Ken Wiley. All right, so I was here, you guys are familiar with some of my concerns. So I'm just gonna kind of take you back quickly from the beginning. And then I got a couple of, just a fast couple of questions. So the fact of the matter is that on August 25th, 2022, Philomena Gallo and Anthony Andrade broke the law. I did not break the law. The guy next door broke the law. And you guys know how he did it, so he never checked with zoning or variance or to get any type of help. He just, through his own affirmative actions, decided to put up an 8-foot fence. Okay, so here I am. I didn't do anything wrong, but I'm paying the price for it now. So back on January 25th, the West Warwick Zoning Board unanimously denied the use of a variance, and that was under petition 2022-10. And that Philomena Gallo applied for that variance ex post facto on August 27, 2022. So the fence was already up. So the decision that the zoning board made was never acted upon or enforced by the town of West Warwick. Now the fence has been up there for 10 months. My opinion, it's an eyesore, but it's there. So I was told at the last meeting, at the zoning board meeting, that the paperwork would be sent to the building official's office. So on February 13th, I sent an email to Mr. Asselone, and I wanted to know what the next steps were going forward to correct the issue. I also asked if any further action on requirements were needed on my part to please advise me. I never got a response. So I checked the zoning board agenda for March. I checked it for April. There was nothing on either one of those agendas for fences. And the reason why I checked them is because that's where I was. I was up in front of the zoning board. So I said, well, let me just check their agendas. So on May 3rd, I stopped by the building official's office to see if I could get any information pertaining to petition 2022-10. That's the usage variant petition. Attorney DeFiore responded to Allison Clark in the same day. And that's when I found out that there was a reading for your ordinance 2023-14 on April 25th. And the second reading was on May 2nd. And at the May 2nd meeting, the town council made a decision not to have the fence come down. So, so that left Philomena Gallo with the amendment to that ordinance that gives her permission to apply for an 8-foot fence, right? So all well and good. I was here on June 6th, as you guys know. And so Mr. DeFiore was zoned in and said they weren't taking any applications because they didn't know what the fees were. All right, so today, you guys approved the fees of $25, right? For my neighbor to apply for an 8-foot fence. Right. Now, in the event she applies for an 8-foot fence, right? Does she need to come before this board and show for good cause? In order, it says in the reading, in the language of the new ordinance, it says, if you can show for good cause, you may be allowed to have an 8-foot fence in a residential section. So if that in fact is true, she needs to come before this board to prove what for good cause is. And if that is true, will it show up on the agenda? So open for public discussion like I'm here. So we can see what she has to say and what you guys need to say to see if it's for good cause. All right. Now, on June 6th, Attorney Williamson said that this issue wasn't a town council issue, which got me a little bit confused. And I'll tell you why. Because you guys, the town council, entered the ordinance 2023-14 and amended chapter 5, article 2 with fences to allow residential properties to apply for 8-foot fences. So if it's not a town council issue, then you have to tell me if I'm in the wrong place or not. How can it not be a town council issue when you implemented the ordinance and you changed the ordinance? Right? So that part, I didn't quite understand why it's not a town council issue. Right. But food for thought. We start every town council meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance, which states, "In liberty and justice for all." Again, I did not break the law. The guy next door broke the law. When someone breaks the law, he or she should be held accountable for their actions and not rewarded for doing so. We live in the United States of America, and no one is above the law. These people should not be afforded the privilege to keep this fence. This is not ethical and must not be allowed. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Wyman. Yeah, I know you want to make,
I do, and I'm waiting till public comment to do it.
is it,
My concern,
so it depends.
I'm with the fence, yeah. My concern is not about any in particular thing. If it was 8 foot high, 12 foot high, it doesn't matter. It went before the zoning board. The zoning board made a decision. We, as a council, correct me if I'm wrong, we can't override that decision.
That's correct.
But if they made a decision, no matter what it was, in your favor, not in your favor, it needs to be respected and carried out. Correct?
May I respond?
Now, if that's what happened,
That's.
and that's my concern.
Your concern was, I answered. At your last meeting, when this gentleman,
Here, Al, for his defense, he was not here.
you were
last
not
week.
here, I appeared by Zoom. When this gentleman raised the issue, I took full responsibility, and I take full responsibility tonight. The zoning board met. The zoning board denied her request for a variance. Subsequent to the meeting of the zoning board and before the time frame had run, a discussion came up because there was another request for a fence that was in excess of 6 feet.
Discussion where though? At the zoning board?
No, actually, we,
Oh, for
the
our
West
discussion.
West Valley Inn requested an 8-foot fence.
In front of us.
No,
Thank you.
no,
He came to me.
It was
and-
part of the.
And
why
then
the
we
ordinance
came to,
before
that's
us.
why the
before us.
ordinance came
Yeah,
before us.
okay.
That's correct.
So Mary Beth came to me unaware of the fact that we had the 6-foot fence ordinance and unaware of the fact that the zoning board had been denied the request. In my discussion with Mary Beth, it came about that we thought that it might be wise to put in an ordinance that set a procedure for a person in a residential area to have an 8-foot fence or in a commercial area to have a 10-foot fence. When that was done and the decision was made for me to prepare an ordinance to submit to the town council to do this, I spoke with Mary Beth and I took it on my own. I take full responsibility. I said, there's absolutely no sense in my mind to make someone take down a fence and 2 months later say it's okay to put it back up. So I contacted the woman, and while I said it that night on Zoom, when the meeting was over, I immediately sent an email to all of the council and to the town manager, again, taking full responsibility. So in answer to your question, that's why the ordinance or the zoning board decision was not enforced. I stopped it.
Okay.
I informed the building office.
But Al, that still doesn't change anything. It doesn't,
I can't undo what I did.
Can I ask why, was there a reason for the zoning board to deny it? Was it because there was no provision for
There was
anything but
no-
a
there was
6-foot
no
fence? Okay.
Provision in the zoning code for anything in excess of 6 feet. So once that happened, then the ordinance that was put before you, setting up a procedure. The procedure was that someone could file seeking a variance, and that variance for good cause shown would not go to the council. That would go to the building official, to the planning director, and to the attorney for the planning and zoning board.
Yeah, all that may be true. It is true.
Mr. President, if I may, and again, this is public comment. They have the right to say whatever they want. However, the council is going far beyond just providing informational purposes. So if the council wants it on its agenda, it should be properly on the agenda so everyone can be here, including
Can you
zoning
put it on
and
the next
planning.
agenda, please?
Because, I mean,
Because
you're
this
violating
has
the
to be-
Open Meetings Act.
This has to be taken care of because I had an email exchange with Al. It seems like some of our boards are being used in political ways and I don't like it and it's aggravating me.
I take
So-
offense to that.
You may take offense to it, but that's what it looks like.
Well, what it looks like, you raised an
I'm
issue.
not just talking about this issue.
No.
I shared some other stuff with
That's
you.
right.
And that's what I'm saying.
And you also shared.
I'm not blaming the people in charge. I'm blaming whoever's using this for reason that I don't know. But it shouldn't be that way. If we're gonna have a building official's office that's gonna go around and try and find violations on their own, then that's what they do. If they're only gonna respond to violations that are reported to them, then that's what they do. But if the only time they're getting out there is when it's the right person calling or whatever it might be, I don't know. But I gave you an example in Ward 5, and it's still mind-boggling to me how it went that way. So we'll put it on the next agenda. We'll put it all out there.
Okay.
You just want to slide over the microphone.
That's what it should be.
It seems to me that the decision made by the zoning board on January 25th fell upon deaf ears. I mean, how long does it take? I sent an email on February 13th.
It's going to be on the next agenda. So we can actually openly talk
Okay.
about it because.
All right, so I appreciate that. So will that be July 11th? Okay, thanks. Thanks for your time.
Good evening, Tom Oates, 6 Colonial Way. Got a couple of quick ones. When is the new official town council portrait going to be unveiled?
Once it's approved. We have the final print,
Okay,
just waiting for one council member to approve it.
okay, thank you. Now, this evening, we spoke about the annual stipends for the Board of Canvassers. A number of months ago, it was brought up that at least 4 years ago, it was decided that all boards and committees were going to get a stipend. And I was kind of shocked because I thought these things were all done out of generosity and the kindness of your heart. And I found out that it was otherwise. And it was decided that from here on in, all boards and committees were going to get paid for the meetings they attend. And we discussed this about 2-3 months ago, could have been 4 months ago. I have an issue with time these days, but it was put on the table. And it was going to be discussed. It was going to be brought back and discussed once all the information was back. But this council, and I'm not sure if Mr. Bourget was on the council at that time. Maybe you were, I'm not sure, but it was decided that all boards, all committees were going to get a stipend or a payment per meeting. Just wondering how that's coming along too, because I know it's still on the table. Last issue. Councilman Messier, tonight, do you know how many licenses were on the agenda? Ballpark, without looking.
A lot,
A lot.
Yeah.
That's a good,
maybe 40,
no, 76.
76, okay.
And you recused yourself again from each and every one of these. Do you represent in your advertising business all 76 of these businesses?
That's not appropriate
So,
before the
Tom-
council.
No, I'm going to
Tom.
finish. This is public comment. This is,
Let me
excuse
answer
me,
you.
David.
Let
This
me
is pub-
answer you,
this is-
Tom.
No, I didn't ask you a question yet.
So
I didn't ask you a question yet, so don't answer it. Thank you. Please, don't answer it.
Anything for the rest of the night. Thank you.
I beg your pardon?
Don't answer anything for the rest of the night.
No, this question. Just hold your horses. Okay? Way back when Ms. Williamson had asked the same question, why do we not take the 4, 5, 12 businesses that you advertise or advertises with your business and put them aside, vote on the remainder, and then recuse yourself from those 4 or 5. That night you did so. That one time only. You've recused yourself from every one of these, and I just don't know why you, as a representative of 20% of this town, recuse yourself on all these votes, on all these businesses, because I know, I don't know, but I'm not a gambler, but I will bet you a coffee that you do not represent all 76 of these
That would
businesses
be correct.
Don't
that are
ans-
on
don't
this
ans- don't
agenda.
answer the question. It's not properly before. You can make your
This is
statement.
public
You
comment,
can
is
make
it
your
not?
statement. You can make your statement, and you did.
I did.
And if you ask a question, he does not have to answer it because your question,
Right.
thank you, Mr. Palazzo. He doesn't have to.
No need
answer
to
your-
bang.
He doesn't
I'm
have to
listening.
answer your question, Mr. Oates.
Okay,
All right? If he wants to answer your question, he can, but he does not have to. You understand that?
understood.
No,
Then-
because other people in this town may have the same question you have, and they might want to be at this meeting to inquire of the councilman. So it can be on the council agenda as to why he recuses himself. You can ask him in private, but right now, he does not have to respond to you. You understand
He
that?
doesn't respond to emails or anything else, so that I
That's a different, that's a
understand.
different, that's a
So,
different issue.
let me ask, Mr. Bourget, let me throw you on the carpet. Would you ask that this be put on the agenda? Because I do not have representation with a council person in this town, as I've been told on the record in this chamber by said council person. So I would like someone to put this on the agenda for the next meeting. Why do we have a councilman that continually recuses himself to vote on all of these matters that concern the citizens of this community? Thank you.
Alan Palazzo, 5 Robin Lane, and I have a couple of issues. The first one, I'm going to start with Mr. Wiley's assertion and question regarding why no action was taken. Attorney DiFiore stood up and took one for the team. But he also disclosed that he had a conversation with Mrs. Williamson, and they decided that maybe no action should be taken. My question is, as Mr. Bourget always points out, why wasn't the rest of the council brought in on that discussion, put it on the agenda, and go from there? That's all I want to say on that issue. I mean, it seems like we have a procedural problem in the town. Now, back to an issue I brought up at the last meeting, the letter from the Employees Retirement System of Rhode Island Executive Director Karpinski. And at that time, Mr. Goslin indicated that he had only shared the letter with Vice President Williamson. I know he hadn't shared it with you, and he admitted that he hadn't shared it with Mr. Messier. At this point in time, Mr. Messier, have you seen this letter?
If you haven't, it was emailed to him.
Okay, maybe he didn't read it.
Emailed one day after the council meeting.
Okay, the 7th. No problem. That was, so what we have is a letter directed to the council. One person on the council was notified by Mr. Goslin, and then it became public knowledge. But that took approximately 6 weeks. And there were a lot of issues here regarding that. After the meeting, I understand Mrs. Williamson more or less stated or admitted that that MERS agreement she had negotiated with former General Treasurer Magaziner in a conversation. Yes, don't look at me. I'm just saying you didn't speak with me, but that was
No, I
a
didn't.
conversation. Additionally, after that meeting, you indicated that you were going to speak with General Treasurer Diosa because Executive Director Karpinski had the temerity to speak with me regarding the contents of this letter, the potential inability of West Warwick to meet the ARC in the coming years. Is that true? Did you contact
No,
the
I did
general
not.
treasurer?
I did not.
Okay. We clarified that up. Now, with regard to that letter, it talks about the town manager and him being granted a pension. In addition to working full-time for the town of West Warwick and receiving benefits. I believe the grand total is about $310,000 altogether between salary, benefits, and the pension. And that's public record, Mr. Knott. This isn't against you, because if I was you, I would have taken the deal too. However, I have a concern regarding the amount of time that a West Warwick retiree is allowed to work and still receive their pension. I've been informed that it was $20,000 at one point, then it was raised to $30,000. But based on the precedent set with Mr. Knott, does this mean that all West Warwick retirees are now entitled to work for the town and collect their pension and a full salary? Does anybody want to take that one on? Mr. Goslin, silence speaks volumes. Okay, very interesting. Now, I have here, and I'm not sure if any of you have seen this. It's an interesting article put out by Ted Seidel, and he talks about Rhode Island pensions, or actually pensions everywhere. And something that's very important, and it goes to the basis of this letter. He states, transparency in government has long been acknowledged in America as essential to a healthy democracy. Yet that letter was not shared with 60% of the council. He also talks about pensions. The single most fundamental defining characteristic of our nation's public pensions is transparency. Okay, I don't see that happening in the town of West Warwick. Have the former members of the West Warwick pension system been informed of the contents of this letter, that one active employee is receiving a full pension as well as a salary? I mean, to me, they should be made aware of it. And one last section, well, actually two, because there's a problem from my perspective with regard to pensions and transparency. I'm in a gun battle too with the ERSRI and Mr. Diosa regarding what went on for state employees. And I find it abominable that the people in the MERS system get their 3.5. However, the members of the normal system have been denied a COLA for 12 years now. That doesn't seem fair and equitable to me. However, the General Assembly keeps putting that off. However, 20 years ago, the West Warwick pension, our own pension, was funded at 98%. Okay, until something happened. I don't know what. I don't know what happened to the system, but it dropped down below 20%. And Mr. Seidel goes on, less transparency in pension results in less accountability and greater looting. Okay, I follow the Rhode Island pension system. They paid $187 million in fees last year. What happened to the West Warwick pension that we went below 20% and actually had to go to MERS? Speaking with various retirees in the town, I was informed the reason they went to the state was to prevent the politicians from manipulating the system. However, from my perspective, where I'm standing right now, you politicians are manipulating the system once again. And I'll leave you with the words, whenever transparency is denied, you should presume that someone has something to hide. I don't know why Mr. Goslin didn't inform everybody when he first got the letter.
I think I stated.
It was
why.
mailed on the 25th. He received it on the 27th. You had issues. Why didn't you raise the issues with the other 3 members of the council? You said you and Mrs. Williamson, the team together, had issues. Why didn't you inform the council, put it on an agenda? Because you had 2 meetings before I brought this up, and then together raise your issues with Mr. Karpinski. Thank you.
So Alan, to answer your question,
You haven't been answering them all along, and you said
I think I answered it last council meeting. I won't answer anything for you then tonight. Thank you.
You said you weren't going to answer.
Thank you.
Leave it at that.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Hearing none.
Motion to adjourn. A motion to move into executive session.
All in favor?
Aye. Second, I'll second.
Yeah.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Have a good night.